G'day everybody, hello and welcome to the first edition of the ARC Service Park, a new little segment we're creating here to bring you some up-to-date content while we're all in isolation. And our first guests are none other than defending 2019 Australian Rally Champions Harry Bates and John McCarthy. G'day guys, how is isolation life treating you?
Okay, I guess. I'm definitely missing not rallying and looking forward to the first opportunity I get to drive a car soon. I guess for us it's been a while. The last rally John and I actually did was the Adelaide Hills Rally in September last year. So it's been over 6 months since we were in the car. But I've been focusing on a few things that I probably haven't been putting time into for a while, which has been nice, and spending some time with family at home as well.
It'd be nice to go out and do a rally, but I guess everybody understands why that can't happen. I'm very fortunate that I've got a job that enables me to work from home. So where I can, I fit that in around kids being homeschooled, and I've got a wife who needs to work from home as well. So it's been busy and challenging, but as Harry said, it's good at the same time to spend more time with the kids, and I can cook a meal every now and then instead of just walking in the kitchen door and sitting down to a meal that somebody else has cooked for me. So good and bad, but certainly not dull. I'll say that much.
You just mentioned homeschooling there. I guess, are there any pace note lessons going on, or are they going to be on the curriculum later on?
Yeah, we might save that for later in the term if we run out of content. But the school's been pretty good so far in sending stuff home, so I'll just have to keep that one up my sleeve, I think.
Harry, you just said before, obviously it's been quite a while since you guys have been in the car. September at the Adelaide Hills Rally, obviously with the situation that happened at Rally Australia. I guess we're a little bit unknown as to when we can go rallying again, but look, that's potentially going to be, 9 months, 10 months, 11 months, who knows, out of the car. What's the preparation going to be like coming into that first rally, whenever that is?
I guess lots of people have been asking the same thing. How do you feel of having so much time out of the car? There's a few things there. When I was younger, in earlier stages of my career, I used to really panic when I spent time out of the car because I was so desperate to constantly improve. I sort of feel like now I'm at a point in my career where whilst there's no giant leaps to make, there's also a pretty decent base of driving fitness there that I can dip into when I have to. So it's become less important over the last couple of years to be in the car every other week. I'm not as desperate to do the testing miles that I once was. Having said that, it's not a nice feeling to know that we'll have a year out of the car. I guess the only thing I take some solace in is that everyone's going to be in the same boat. We're all going to turn up at whatever our first rally is after this extended break with the same level of driving fitness. So I think that this time and how we utilise it is more about what we're doing outside of the car to keep ourselves fit, and that will be the determinant, I think, of who's ready when we go back and who's not.
And John, what about from your side of the seat? Obviously, as a driver, I can relate. You sort of do find you get into the rhythm and get into the groove, but potentially having 12 months out of the seat from calling notes and just getting in sync with, I guess, Harry and the team in the car. Is there anything that you can do in this off season to try and keep sharp?
The real answer is not really. I've been watching a few onboards lately, not really from the point of view of trying to stay match fit, but just to reminisce, I guess, and remember what it was like to be in a rally car all those months ago. Aside from that, I guess for myself, I'm sort of rolling into my 18th year of rallying, so it starts to become a bit like falling off a bike. I'll figure it out at the first test when we get back, and I don't know. Harry's usually pretty quick to let me know if I get it wrong.
When we do go rallying again, and you're obviously driving from stage to stage on the transport, what's the most common topic of conversation?
Anything and everything, to be honest. We'll often have some music on just to tune out. One longer liaison we do each year is the trip each day from Busselton to Nannup, and then from Nannup back to Busselton at the Make Smoking History Forest Rally. And that's usually a liaison where we'll put on some tunes and just try and relax and get ready for a day of rallying. Often if it's a shorter liaison from one stage to the next, we'll just be discussing tyre pressures and what went well in the previous stage. And it really depends on the event. If it's a longer liaison, we can go off on a tangent for sure and get stuck talking about, politics in the United States in the 1970s or something like that. But if it's a shorter liaison, often we're literally just talking about the next stage or both trying to get in the zone independently.
You guys are probably in a pretty unique situation. It's probably the first time in history where you've come off the back of your maiden ARC victory, ready to defend a title. We're not sure when that will be, but for you guys to win that title last year, obviously, I guess I'd share a little bit of a history there with you. We were pseudo teammates for a while there, particularly when you first started out. I guess I saw how much hard work you both put into it. What was it, a sense of relief when you won the championship last year?
We'd come close a few times. 2016, we finished third. 2017, we were leading the championship at the halfway point. 2018, we came within potentially a day of winning the ARC and had some mechanical woes. So there was sort of different reasons we could have and different reasons we didn't win the championship a couple of times previously. So you do start to worry at that point, when is it actually ever going to happen? But I did always believe that it was there. I knew that we just needed to put together a whole year of good results. And to be honest, last year it felt like all the years of things going wrong and making mistakes was all totally behind us, and we were able to have a year where everything went our way for once, and where between us we made no mistakes, and that was a big relief. And the fact is, the Australian Rally Championship is not an easy championship to win, and naively I entered it 5 years ago as a 20-year-old thinking that I could just get some good results and one day become Australian Rally Champion. But as you mentioned, AJ, the work involved in becoming an Australian champion and the amount of experience you need to gather before you get to that point is huge. And it took, in a way, longer than I expected. But looking back now, everything that I learned along the way is what added up to a championship win. And
John, you obviously alluded to how long you've been in the sport for a little earlier. I guess for you to jump in with Harry, which was, we all sort of, I guess, expected the potential there, but it was an element of unknown. But I guess to fall into a team with such pedigree and history being Neil Bates Motorsport, what was that like from your side?
In a lot of ways, it was a breath of fresh air, really. And you know, that's not meaning any disrespect to any of the people that I've rallied with before, but you know, obviously there's that the level of professionalism and many years of experience in running a big team. That was something that stood out straight away. You know, it really shows how experienced Neil and Daryl and everybody in the team is, just in the way that everything ran so smoothly. You know, there was also a sense, for me at least anyway, that you know, it was starting to get a bit more serious, and you know, there was that element of work and effort that came into it as well. So it was, I'm not going to say good and bad because it was all good. But there was certainly different things that I had to adjust to and get used to.
So you look at the array, like the photos behind you there. Obviously start off in a two-wheel drive Toyota to the S2000 to now what is a proven rally winner, which is the Toyota Yaris AP4. It's no secret it wasn't smooth sailing at the start, but you know, hats off to the team. They now have two very reliable cars, which showed last year.
Neil Bates Motorsport have been a huge part of my career, obviously, and I really wouldn't be an Australian Rally Champion without them. Like you mentioned, I started in a front-wheel drive Corolla, which was prepared by Neil Bates Motorsport. It's actually a car I purchased from Queensland as my first rally car in 2014, and we did 2 seasons in that. I sort of spent 2014 doing some state and club level rounds, and then I spent 2015 doing a few ARCs, which was where John started co-driving for me. Then in 2016 was lucky enough to get to compete in Dad's 2008 championship winning Toyota Corolla Super 2000. Many people saw it as a massive step up, but it was a very natural progression in other ways because it was a car that had to be driven hard, and it contributed a lot to my learnings as a driver, and it was a very reliable car, and we managed to win some Australian rally rounds in it as well. So that was awesome. Then we moved to the project of the Toyota Yaris AP4, which, as you alluded to, was not smooth sailing from the start. We had plenty of reliability issues early on. And when I look back at that, the toughest thing about the development of that car at the start was the lack of budget and time to do it properly. The guys at Neil Bates Motorsport were doing it as a passion project. It was happening after hours and on weekends, and there were many difficulties we were facing along the way. The main one being trying to come up with a car that could compete with the might of the European R5 cars that's sort of locally built and developed on a slim budget. But to have managed to have done it and to now have a championship, and not only a championship but a manufacturer's title for Toyota as well, is a massive achievement for Neil Bates Motorsport, and was very, very exciting to be a part of that process, I must say.
You are a big team. You are the biggest team in the Australian Championship at the moment. What's the rest of the team doing? There's obviously so much preparation you can do in the workshop, but what's the rest of the team getting into if it's not a new car? Doing
bits and pieces. There's always stuff to do. We've got a new rally trailer coming, for example, so they're getting ready to begin the fit out of that. We've also renovated our workshop recently, so there was a lot of work to do with that, but now we have a nice little museum with all of the historic rally cars and ex-Australian Rally Championship winners sitting in it. So I look forward to being able to share that with everyone once it's fully finished. But other than that, I guess everyone's just hoping, waiting and wishing that we could be back out on the stages soon. And, we've just been very conscious, I guess, of ensuring that our employees are keeping healthy and safe, and making sure that their workplace is a safe place to be.
And we see now, obviously, run under the banner of Toyota Gazoo Racing Australia. That was launched a couple of years ago, just before the eve of Rally Australia. You're part of that TGR family now. Is there a open line of communication to the world team? Is there much dialogue between you both, or very much a separate entity?
Didn't you just hang up from Tommy?
Yeah, we were just talking about drives for 2021. There's definitely a relationship there. I think obviously we've got a great deal of respect for what they've achieved with their car in the World Rally Championship, but I think they also have some respect for what we've achieved here. At the end of the day, they're a rally team, and they're a bunch of engineers and mechanics whose main goal is to build fast cars and win championships. So we certainly have that in common. And each year when they come out here for Rally Australia, we have some great chats with them, and they're always prepared to help where they can. And last year, Lewis and I actually went over to Rally Finland, and we took our mechanic Sam with us, and we spectated at the WRC event there, and the Gazoo guys were very welcoming, and they let us hang out in their service park for the whole weekend and eat with them. And yeah, definitely a relationship there, which is exciting. We're trying to achieve the same thing here in Australia as they're trying to achieve on a global scale.
John, what did you think of that? The mechanic got the trip to Finland, but you got left at home.
I guess that's just how it goes sometimes. Look, I would love to be able to travel a lot more than I do, but I guess the reality of my life with work and kids, and Harry's aware of this, it's pretty difficult for me to get away to the 6 or 8 rallies or other rally events as it is. So Sam's a good mechanic. He works pretty hard for us. I was happy for him to go and have a nice time in Finland.
There's obviously some new regulations coming to the WRC next year, which means a new car for the world team. Does that mean that we might see a new look Yaris AP4 in the future?
We'll have to wait and see. There is a new Yaris coming out later this year. It's going to be called the Toyota GR Yaris. So it's basically going to be a performance version of the Yaris, and it's very exciting. The specs are massively exciting. It's going to have a 1.6 litre turbo engine. It's going to be all-wheel drive. So in many ways, the specifications of the road car are going to be really similar to our rally car, and it's actually going to be marketed as a rally car for the road. So for us, it's going to be very exciting to have something road going in Toyota's lineup that's so closely linked to what we're doing as the rally team. So that is super exciting. As for whether or not we'll have a new car, I don't know. That remains to be seen.
John, what's Harry's worst habit?
It depends on the context. He's pretty addicted to his phone. I think if Harry was honest with himself, he'd even admit to that one. Well, as Harry's co-driver, I'd probably say his worst habit is going to bed probably a bit later than he ought to, and then being pretty difficult to get out of bed and motivated for recce the next morning. However, to be fair to him, he is just a kid after all. He's gotten a lot better in recent years. He's nowhere near as bad as he used to.
And what would you say Harry's most favourite event is?
Probably say Coffs, even though we've had mixed fortunes there over the years. It's still, it's the big stage. It's the big event. It's 3 days. There's some really, really great roads down there. And because of the WRC, we get to use those roads, which, can sometimes be a bit more challenging for a national event. So I reckon probably Coffs. Harry, how'd that go?
Yeah, pretty good. Coffs Harbour or Canberra. Coffs Harbour because it's an international round. The atmosphere at the World Rally Championship is always amazing, and the roads suit me down to the ground. So I love that event. And Canberra because it's my home event, and it's a great event, so close to the city. And Canberra's got a real community of rally fans, I guess, and it's always exciting to perform in front of those people at home.
So, Harry, what's John's worst habit?
I mean, I'd probably have to say first thing that's come into my head is John is a perfectionist, and this is going along with the theme of being up too late. He's often up way too late tidying pace notes to within an inch of their life, when in fact they were probably just fine the way that we finished recce, or at least close enough. So I'd have to say his perfectionism sometimes is a poor habit of his. But other than
fine,
that,
I'll wear that.
If we were going to go and raid John's Netflix account, what do you think we'd happen to find?
should be easy.
I don't have it. No,
Netflix. Yeah, I was going to say he doesn't have Netflix. Who doesn't have Netflix nowadays?
Obviously, we're running an online ARC competition at the moment. There's lots of people going under different aliases. Can you share if either of you are participating in that alias? Harry, we saw some things on Instagram the other night of your prowess on the simulator. But John, are you having a go at that and hiding under some different alias?
I'll be really honest. I had an Xbox many, many years ago, and I only had one game on it, and it was Colin McRae Rally. And I think I owned that Xbox for about 3 months. And I reckon I spent about 2.9 of those months sitting in front of the television with the Xbox running. And I made a firm decision for myself and my well-being and that of my wife at the time, that I was going to take that Xbox straight down to cash converters and get it out of my life so that I could actually engage with the real world again. So I've been very tempted to create an account, and I've even had a bit of a look around on the internet at how I'd go about that. But so far, no, I haven't done it, and I'm not likely to either, I guess.
So Lewis went out and actually bought a PlayStation, and it's been here for me to use. You have to lift up the cushion because you have to be that low.
Is that an ironing board?
Yeah, we've got, yep. It's an ironing board, pedals under there, and then we've got weights. Mum's super pleased because she recently had her kitchen renovated, and we've gone and put a sim with an ironing board in her living area, so she's loving it. I've tried and failed probably 3 times now, so I've actually tried each of the Australian Championship rounds that have been on offer, and the furthest I've got is stage 2 so far. So it's usually led to a massive crash of some description, which has been so frustrating. I'm really not very attuned to computer games. So the whole process for me is it's like learning how to ride a bike or drive a rally car all over again. It's something completely different and new. But anyway, I'll see if I can keep chipping away at it. And I'm sort of enjoying playing with car setup and seeing if I can improve that way. Which is pretty much what anyone in rallying does when they can't drive well, is they just start playing with car setup.
Well, John and Harry, thank you very much for taking the time out. Appreciate the effort, and we look forward to seeing you in a forest somewhere in the not-too-distant future.
I should have done the whole interview like that. Maybe next time.
I like the pictures in the background. They look cool.